things you do. Be intentional about the things you say. Be intentional about your thoughts and plans. Be intentional about everything in life.
Hope you like my t-shirt. Hey guys, be intentional with Chesca. It's just about closing the curtains on the connection beyond the pulpit. And today we're going to talk about some interesting topics. We're going to find constructive measures and solutions to how we can bring ourselves to that point we could honor our pastors. But before I go into what today is all about, I want to talk about or address an email I received from a friend of mine, and she was very interested about the fact that I was talking about honor, and she said, look, Chesca, there are so many pastors going on out there and doing all sorts of things. I think if we are being intentional, you need to be intentional about talking about those things. Well, I am definitely interested in talking about those things. I am gonna be intentional about them. Definitely one of these days we're gonna have that topic. But guess what? Somehow, someway, or fortunately for me, I've been blessed with the few or those pastors who I wouldn't say you consider them as being part of those ones you think we need to talk about. So I haven't got much experience with those kind of pastors, whoever they are and what they are like, that we think we need to talk about and they don't deserve honor. But I'm going to do my homework and I'm going to come back to you shortly and we will talk about that. We really will talk about that. But the thing is, it's difficult, okay? And the challenge here is for us to be able to separate the gift from the individual. As if you've watched my videos in the past, all I've been going on about is the standard we place on them, the standard we place on them. And some of the standards we place on them is because sometimes we put together the gift and the individual together as the human being. So as they falter, it's difficult for us to comprehend how such a person so anointed could do things like this. And that brings me just to my topic that I want to discuss today. And this topic, I call it, do not partner with the accuser of the brethren. I know. I am excited about this topic because this is something that is eating us up as Christians, as people of faith, as believers, as children of God. Do not partner with the accuser of the brethren. We've already seen the toll leading a church has on our leaders, has on our pastors. But I think one of the most discouraging things, or the most discouraging part of leading God's people, is hearing them talk about the bride of Christ, is hearing them talk about you, is hearing them talk about somebody else who is also supposed to be part of the body of Christ or part of the bride of Christ. So this day, I come to you intentionally, and what I'm saying is, do not gossip about the bride of Christ. Do not partner with the accuser of the brethren. You know, I found something very interesting in the Bible and about gossiping. And I realized the Bible soundly condemns gossip on so many levels, and careless speech as well. In Psalms chapter 34 verses 13, it reads that, keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking lies. And somewhere in James chapter 1 verses 26, it says that if anyone considers himself religious and yet does not keep a tight rein on his tongue, he deceives himself and his religion is worthless. Ouch! That hurts. I thought, oh my God, I had to actually sit back and think the number of times that I haven't put a tight rein on my lips, talked about people, gossiped about people in the church, talked about my leaders, talked about anybody. And here I am facing, it's like looking at yourself in the mirror, and the Bible is condemning gossip and condemning careless speech. In fact, careless speech. You know, we might call it all sorts. Sometimes we might not be bold enough to admit that what we are doing is gossiping. And we might call it everything, but hey, the Bible has it in there as careless speech. Even that the Bible considers your religion as worthless. Oh, I think that hurts. When I found that, I was like, ouch. Do not gossip about the bride of Christ. Do not partner with the accuser of the brethren. Basically, all God is saying to us is to make every effort to squelch gossip. Gossip is something, you know, there are these people, their behavior or their attitude in church, they don't gossip. They just sow a seed. They just have to come to you and sow a seed in a form of asking a question. And the next thing you know, it's going on and on and on. Let us make every effort to squelch gossip. The next time you want to accuse somebody, remember that the Bible says the devil is the accuser of the brethren. So where do you stand? Who are you with? Which team are you on? Consider that. Look, sometimes we make our spiritual leaders so defensive, so pressurized, so unproductive, and we use statements like, oh, pastor needs to know this, pastor should have done this, pastor's wife should have done that, pastor should have done that, pastor should have not. You know, and we say all these things, but the truth is, this approach is seldom welcome and almost always counterproductive. Most often than not, it only results in gossip and only puts these pastors in a position where they have to force themselves to give answers. They have to force themselves to fit in. They have to force themselves to do things that they probably wouldn't have done. And you know, have you ever come across those people in church? I call them the they sayers. They never say anything. Nothing comes from them. For them, somebody said it. And they pass on the message. Oh, I heard that they were saying this. They were saying that. I heard this. I heard that. I heard that. Well, do not partner with the accuser of the brethren. And so now this is what I've got to say to somebody. That if you've got things to say, if you've got things to do, if you've got something that is going wrong, something that's happening in the church, you think should have been done in a better way, and it's not being done, well, the good news is you can become an answer. I think if you listen to my previous videos, I talked about becoming an answer. Become an answer. Instead of gossiping, become an answer. Instead of uttering careless speeches, become an answer. Instead of sowing a seed of gossip, partnering with the accuser of the brethren, accusing others, become an answer. If you see a need, offer to meet that need. There is something that needs doing, offer to help. Approach your spiritual leader. You can say something like, I'd like to help by doing so and so. Oh, I wanted to suggest that we could do things this way. Guess what? Not everything you say will be taken on board. And please don't be offended. It's so important as children of God, we learn. We talk about submission. Submission is not just about yes sir, yes sir. Submission is even when you know you are right, but your leader is refusing to take that on board, your ability to support his decision and pray for him, hoping that through the work of the Holy Spirit, he would catch what the truth is. It's better than, oh, just because I suggested 1, 2, and 3, my pastor didn't listen, my leader didn't listen, so I back off. So that's it. If when the thought drops, I'm not even going to bother to contribute. I don't know why we do that, but please, people, respect their decisions. You see, if you are praying for your leaders, I want to believe that you wouldn't be offended if you put in a suggestion and they are not able to take it on board, because I believe that God answers prayer, and as you keep praying for your leaders, their hearts and your hearts, God drops an idea into your mind to push the ministry forward. Oh, you would realize it will tally with their vision and it's going to work. So do not partner with the accuser of the brethren. If you see an area that can be improved, take responsibility. Don't sit back expecting somebody to do it. Expecting, oh, I don't know what this protocol team is doing. They could have done things better. Take responsibility. Oh, somebody was in church and nobody even went to say hello. Who are the nobody? You are part of the nobodies. There is nobody called nobody in the church. We are all somebodies. We are all part of the vision. We are all part of the ministry. Take responsibility for something that is not working and work on it. Do what you can do. Do your best. What's the point of pointing out all the mistakes and yet not having a solution to give? I've come across people like that, and oh my God, it's so tiring working and walking with them. All they see is faults. All they see is mistakes. All they see is what is not going right. Praise God that you have been blessed with the talent of identifying problems and negative stuff. But I want to believe that your ability or that gift of being able to identify what goes wrong all the time in the church probably comes with the fact that the solution lies in you. So hey, take responsibility for that thing that needs doing and go ahead and do it. Guess what? We are being intentional. And whilst you are seeing the need and taking responsibility, please do one more thing for yourself, for your pastor, for your minister, for your leader. Throw away the measuring stick. Let me repeat myself. After you have seen the need and you have taken responsibility, one good thing you can do, which is an honor to your leader and into the ministry, is to throw away the measuring stick. Do not expect your present leader to do things like the previous one, to do things like your ex-church, let me call it that way, or your former church used to do things. Oh, where I came from, we used to do things this way. It was better. We used to do things. I'm not asking you not to suggest anything or not to bring in new ideas. No. I'm talking about the position where you put yourself and you are comparing. It doesn't work. It yields no good results. Throw away the measuring stick. And truth be told, most of the times, the reason why we are seeing that leader incompetent is because we are measuring that leader with another person or another status that we have in mind. So throw away the measuring stick. It is very important. That way you'll be honoring the vision, honoring your leader, honoring your minister. Don't expect him to be like that leader. Don't expect him to do things the same way even their predecessors did things. Have you ever been in a ministry, in an organization, somewhere where a new boss comes, no matter how good he or she is, most people are just not willing to accept that he or she is trying. And the truth is, sometimes it's just because we just cannot adapt to the change that's taking place. Usually it's more about us than the person. Because every leader, every boss, every manager that comes into a company, that comes into an organization, they come with fresh ideas. They come with something. You actually, when you go for an interview, you are asked, what can you add to the company? What can you add to the team you're joining? So everybody is expected to bring new things, but most of the times, the problem we have is us getting used to the change. So don't expect that new leader to do things the same way the predecessor did things. You've got something else that worked in the past. You think it could still work? Suggest it nicely. And don't go around say, some of us even sit in church, let me say this, and we compare the church service to the last church service we visited, the church we visited last Sunday. Oh, they used to do things. Oh, I like that church. And they do things very well. They do things. Why are you still in your church, by the way? If you love that church that much, what exactly is keeping you? You see? Think about these things. Be intentional with yourself. Be honest. And think about it. Why am I still in this church? Why have I got A, B, C, D up onto Z? Problems with the church I have been in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 6 years, and I'm always mourning, yet nothing is being done. And I'm comparing it with another church I find better. And you are still staying in the church. I think you're wasting your time, because the truth of the matter is, sorry people, I'm probably being a bit passionate about this, but this is eating us up. Because the truth of the matter is, whilst in your heart and in your mind, you compare these two churches and try to put them on that pedestal of that other church which you are not in, and you don't know what is eating them up. All you are doing to yourself is you're going nowhere. You cannot receive from your leaders. You cannot function. You would actually spend how many hours in church? Oh God, time is so precious. I don't see how anybody will get themselves up to go and sit somewhere they don't want to be. So you identify the need, take responsibility, throw away the measuring stick. Do not compare. If you are comparing, it has to yield positive results. So that's what I have got to say. The other thing I want to tell you is familiarity. Please, 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 people. We're talking about honor. Whatever you do, however close you get to your leader, however far you get with that leader, whatever doors he or she opens to you, do not be familiar with them. Do not be too familiar with them. And do not be too familiar with their ways that you are not able to receive from them. So much that you lose respect for them just because you saw something about them which is considered a weakness. Hey, let me tell you something. I am not too old, but I'm old enough or have experienced certain things in life. I would share with you the number of times I've prayed for things, and God has strategically placed the answers to my prayer in the strangest of people I would ever have thought of walking with them or working with them or even relating to them. And sometimes when I have found the answer to the prayer in those people, it brings me to that point where I think about my own perception. And I wonder, is it not my judgment that is so wrong? Do I really need that answer to that prayer, considering how I don't want to work with that person because the person is like this, the person, but the solution lies in the person? Do not get familiar with people. It doesn't matter the status of the person. It could just be the normal church member who is playing no role, but just sitting by you in church. It could be the senior pastor. It could be the protocol team. It could be that person who is always backing you. Don't even hear her voice. Or you probably do hear the voice, but it's really not going well. Do not take them for granted. Don't get familiar with people. Because what do they say about it? Familiarity breeds contempt. So sometimes that thing you are still praying for, that thing you have prayed and waiting, God may have put that thing, the answer to that prayer, in that person. It is actually wrapped up in that the presence of that familiar person. But you have been so familiar with the person, you couldn't receive your answer. Do not be familiar with your pastors. Do not be familiar with your leaders. As a matter of fact, do not get too familiar with people, so much so that you don't get to respect them. You may have come so close to your pastor that you know his weaknesses. A word of advice, you should consider that as a privilege. You should consider that as a privilege. Consider their mistakes. You know, the mistakes that they make all the time, which you are privileged to witness. Because, mind you, these pastors, they put themselves on a pedestal where they try hard not to look weak. Bless them. Because the minute he shows his weakness, you and I would not think they are spiritual enough. So, even so, if you are able to identify a weakness of your leader, a weakness you are witnessing, consider that as a privilege. Consider those mistakes which you are witnessing as road signs to your destiny. And do not partner with the devil. Do not partner with the accuser of the brethren. If you hear a negative comment, correct it. Correct it. You know, some of us, we don't even correct. We don't contribute to the negative comment. But we sit in the midst of the conversation and we do the what shall we say? We can only pray. Oh, please. 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 That doesn't make you any different. In fact, you're better off joining in the conversation and saying what is on your heart. You are better off because your status with that person who is also busy gossiping is the same. It doesn't make any difference unless you decide to correct it. If information is being spread around, please correct it. Correct it with the accurate information. If you know it. If you don't know it, stop it right there. If you think you have no idea what is going on at all, just walk away. Walk away. Don't be part of the gossip. People are gossiping, please walk away. Let us be intentional. Let us make the effort. And this is not just about leaders. It's about us all. I find it difficult. I think it's really difficult because even in the workplaces, you might find people gossiping. But trust me, they do it in the most professional, diplomatic way you can ever think of. It can only remain as an assumption in your mind. You just have to assume, I think they were talking about me. But in the church, oh my days. And this one says it to this one. And this seed. The sad part of it is, even those who sow the seed, along the line they forget what they did. They would have forgotten. And these seeds would have gained roots. Somebody watered it. It gained roots. It grew up. It germinated. It gained strongholds in the church. And beep, 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 all over. Please stop it. I think we've got so much time on our hands, so many things to do. But I tell you what, we have no time, Christians. I was just telling somebody that, gone are the days you see the devil coming with the horns like they teach us in Sunday school. Those pictures. I wonder if the devil really looks like that. But now, just like we've all adapted to technology and everything, and we are on top of everything. He's also on top of his game. And these are the things the devil is using just to waste you and I, our time. He is simply wasting our time. He's only shifting a focus. What we are supposed to focus on, we are spending time focusing on what is not working instead of what is working and how we can push that forward. So come on, do not partner with the accuser of the brethren. Do not do that. So today, I am pleading with you. I am pleading with us all. Do not be familiar. Do not be familiar with people. Do not be familiar with their ways. Now that you have prayed, and now that you have blessed your pastor, now that you have seen a need, recognized a need, and you have decided to become an answer, here are some practical ways that you can care for your leaders, care for your pastor, care for your overseer, your bishop, whatever you call it in your church, and show your appreciation to them. One, you can submit to the authority, submit to the spiritual authority of your pastors, and encourage others to do. Be on a campaign of encouraging other people to go on this mission of submitting to your leaders. You shouldn't have an opinion about everything. I mean, you shouldn't have an opinion about everything. Opinion and you share it. Do not be offended. Extend hospitality to your pastor and his family. Give your pastor and his wife a bit of break together, while you care for their children. Encourage your church leaders. Suggest to your church elders, if it's quite a sizable church and your voice can be heard, suggest to them so they could take your pastor on a retreat, and then he can take a break from everything, a break for himself. He could go with his wife, but sometimes too he could go on his own. Just a me time for your pastor is something you can do. Recognize that your pastor and his family, they go through the same things that you and I go through on a daily basis, if not more. And so be empathetic rather than critical. That is one thing you can do to honor your pastors. Fix a meal, take it to their houses, encourage them. And by this, I'm talking about maybe, I don't know about big churches. I mean, when I say big, I'm talking about over 1,000. Anything not more than 1,000, I consider it as a still growing church, because we want to win the world, innit? So we are talking about, if it's still a growing church, do something. Even talk of big churches. I think that they have more of the headaches than the growing churches will do, because you can't do everything. You can't satisfy. Some pastors cannot even know their church members, because it's a huge church. How are you supposed to do that? So find out if there is any need in their home. You need to wash your pastor's car. You need to iron his clothes. You need to do something. Just go ahead. Do it, and do it heartily. Remember that what the right hand does, the left hand doesn't have to know. Don't go talking about it. Don't go blessing them and telling the whole world about it. Please be intentional not to do that. If you are getting somebody to join you to do something for your pastor, it is because you need a lot of people on board to make that happen. That is when you go around to tell people about it. So if you have been able to follow these episodes, I suppose you are one of those people who really, really, really want to honor their leaders. You are so interested in building the kingdom, in pushing these leaders in the right direction to go the right way. And so I beseech you to come to that realization that God has not called us to criticize them. God has not called us to criticize or damage our pastors. Actually, he has called us to pray for them. He has called us to support them. He has called us to empower them to do what they are doing, because he, God, has ordained them to do what they are doing, and they would need your support, not your criticisms. Take a step back, somebody, and realize that you cannot partner with the accuser of the brethren. And as you take a step back, be intentional and intentionally intend to be that one person who makes the work of your pastor so easy to do. I love you all and thank you so much for your time. Thank you. I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you for the points you gave me back door. Thank you for your attention. Now, just because you are doing a good job, for somebody who will be willing to be the one who is doing the honoring of the pastor or rallying people around to honor the pastor, I just want a word of advice. Now, this is a special tip for you. I want you to know that just because you're doing a good thing doesn't mean that you're going to be recognized as doing a good thing. Take note of that. Remember Moses? Oh yes, he was actually going to deliver the people of Israel from the hands of the Egyptian. That should have been a good thing. But guess what? They wanted to kill him. They wanted to stone him. They said all sorts. So you have to know that as you embark on this journey of making honoring your pastor a priority, not everybody will be on board with you, but do not be discouraged. Not everybody, even with the leadership, they might not agree with you, but don't take it personal. Remember Moses whenever it hurts and keep doing what you're doing, because the pastor needs somebody. The pastor needs that person who sent a text message and said, Pastor, your word blessed me on Sunday. It is good enough because you want to know that somebody listened. So don't hesitate. Don't just send text messages to people. Try and let them know that. Let your pastor also know that what you said on Sunday meant a lot to me. Leaders are coming from ordinary places and they deal with ordinary issues. Let's bear them up in prayer and not criticize them. So all too soon, we've ended our episode on honoring your pastor, a connection beyond the pulpit. But hey, hold your horses right there. There is one important topic we're going to talk about, and that is one honor you can do to your pastor's wife. We will talk about the pastor's wife. A lot goes on with the pastor's wife. We hear a lot about them. And one interesting thing I hear is the pastor's wives cannot keep a tight rein on their lips. Is that true? We would find out. I've got very, very, very powerful ministers of God, and they are pastors' wives. They are the preacher's wife. I want to ask them this business of the church and the pastor's wives being rivals. How did we get there? What causes it? Is it true? Did they contribute to it? Are they part of it? I really need to hear from you. So don't hesitate to inbox me and get me more points to bring on board. Remember, we are being intentional. Take care, and I love you all. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Be intentional about everything.